And so we are in week number 2 of No Other Name. Incredible way to lead into Easter. I can't think of a better way to lead into Easter. Easter time's coming up. Everybody's getting ready for it. Everybody's preparing for Easter. It doesn't even matter if you love Jesus or not. Everybody seems to be preparing for Easter. I'll go into the stores, and everybody, man, they've got Easter candy everywhere. Praise God for the Jelly Bellies and you know, the little chocolate-covered eggs. Those are great. Not the big fat ones with the goo cut, the Cadbury ones. Love the commercial. Hate the eggs. I think they're straight from Satan. And my wife loves them, but, you know, that's another story. And the Peeps. Listen, the Peeps are disgusting, but check them out. You can throw those suckers in a microwave. You can take a whole package of Peeps. Just try this. Take a package of Peeps, throw it in the microwave, hit 30 seconds. And it has some weird ability to fill the entire microwave completely full. It's awesome. If you live with your mom, she'll hate it. But you need to do the YouTube it, you know, just put it out there as an experiment. It's great. You need to go home, and people are going to go home and try it. That's what they told me after first experience. I already had some dads threatening to beat their kids if they tried that at home. But man, everybody's preparing for Easter. A lot of people are eating fish. A lot of the restaurants are just serving fish, you know, whether it's for Lent or whatever. They might just like fish. And then bright colors. Man, I look out there, I see a lot of blues and some oranges and some pinks and stuff. It's not really my thing. But, man, Easter makes the springtime makes everybody feel like it's just a new season, and everybody's getting excited. They want to wear bright colors. My daughter runs out the other day and picks a bunch of yellow flowers. I don't even know what they're called, but they look pretty on the table. They're just everywhere. I drive down the road. The grass is greening up. The animals are coming out. And, man, just everybody's excited, and it's all leading up to Easter. And so the question I want to ask you today is, how are you preparing for Easter? I mean, in 2 weeks, it's going to be exciting. In 2 weeks, we celebrate the fact that the tomb is empty, which is the biggest thing that separates us from all other religions. Our God got up. And it's going to be great, and we're going to celebrate the resurrection. But just as Jesus had to prepare for the resurrection, how are we preparing for the resurrection? You know, Jesus lets us know that, Easter equals resurrection, but you got to understand there is no resurrection without the cross. The cross is what led to the resurrection. And so, you know, that was Jesus' way of preparing for the resurrection. It was the cross. And so we're going to be in Mark today for just a little bit, hanging out. And Jesus was preparing his disciples. He was trying to prepare his disciples for Easter. They didn't know. And whenever we read this, I want you to understand, when we read the Bible, it's in the context of the resurrection already happening. But as Jesus was saying this to his disciples and to the crowd, it hadn't happened yet. They were kind of confused. They didn't really understand what he was talking about. And so he had to break this down for them and stuff that they would understand. And so whenever he speaks to them about the cross, it had a very different meaning than what the cross has in our life. Because as we look at in reflection of the cross just becomes a symbol of our faith. Sometimes it becomes watered down. It becomes a fashion symbol. And, you know, you see it on T-shirts. It's on necklaces. You got it on your Bible covers. People got it posted on their doors. They got it hanging on their walls. They got whatever. They'll make little crosses. It's just insane the amount of crosses, because we do that to remember the resurrection. But the cross back in the day had a completely different meaning. And so Jesus was teaching them how to prepare for a resurrected life. And we're going to pick it up in Mark chapter 8, verses 34 and 35. It says, "Then, calling the crowd to join his disciples, Jesus said, 'If any of you wants to be my follower,'" he's saying, if you're saying this today, if any of you want to call yourselves a Christian, if you want to be a disciple, you want to be a follower of Jesus, he says, "you must turn from your selfish ways, take up your cross, and follow me." This is interesting. He's saying you got to turn from your selfish ways. You got to pick up your cross. This is one of those passages of Scripture, if you was raised in church, you know it. You just know it. You've heard it all your stinking life. You maybe even seen the verse printed on, pieces of coffee mugs and all kinds of stuff. It's weird what Christians will print on stuff, you know what I'm saying? And it's easy to just maybe to glaze over this and just say, oh, yeah, picking up a cross, following Jesus. That's just kind of nonchalantly, that's how we take it. But it had a very different meaning then. It says, if you try to hang on to your life, listen to these words, if you try to hang on to your life, you will lose it. Think about that for a second. If you try to cling to everything that you know is as normal, if you try to do all the right things and say all the right things, be at all the right places, and you do just living life normal, it says if you try to cling to your life, you're going to lose it. He's saying, look, in this life, you all will meet the exact same fate. I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but you all going to die. Every one of you, unless Jesus comes back, you all will face the exact same fate. Jesus says, but if you give up your life for my sake, and for the sake of the good news or the sake of the gospel, you will save your life. He's saying that this life is just temporary. He says if your life is devoted to me, if your life revolves around the gospel, if your life revolves around you taking up your cross and following Jesus, then by you doing that and you denying yourself all of your selfish ways, it says you'll save your life. You will have eternity at hand. If you don't, you won't. And I know it's not very popular today for preachers to say, to be so hard line and say, well, this is Jesus talking. We can't water that down. He's saying, you got to pick up your cross. And whenever you understand what picking up your cross means, you can't water that down either. You got to know what he's saying. It was the cross back in the day to the Jews was an extremely common thing to see. They didn't have to go to their girlfriend's house and see isn't it funny how some houses you walk in, there's 900 crosses, and it's they're all different, but they're all made in some weird pattern on walls. I see it all the time in people's homes. I don't know what the obsession with that is, but I just see it all the time. We see crosses everywhere symbolically. Now, the Jews back in the day, they were seeing crosses everywhere for real. They would get up, get their cup of coffee, kiss their wife, heading to work, and you just see people hanging on crosses on the side of the road. It was not uncommon in the lifespan in this Jewish culture to see tens of thousands of people dead on crosses. It was just everywhere. See, the Romans ruled that world. They just ruled it. Rome was in charge. If you opposed Caesar, they nailed you to a cross. They wanted to keep their thumb on people. If you tried to mount up any type of insurrection or rebellion, you were getting nailed to a cross. If you were a thief, you were getting nailed to a cross. And it was very public. It was very out on display. It wasn't for the weak. They would nail them to crosses on the side of roads, up on hills. They wanted everybody to see that if you mess with Rome, you would face this fate. And Jesus is telling his disciples, says, if you want to follow me, it means you got to pick up a cross. Now, this would have had deep meaning in their lives because the cross wasn't just a fashion symbol for them. They understood what it means. And today, I want to tell you 5 things about carrying a cross. Number 1, if you're taking notes, carrying a cross is noticeable. Carrying a cross is noticeable. Look, just imagine. I've never carried a Roman cross, but I imagine it's big. Imagine Jesus saying, I need you to follow me, and you need to pick up a cross and carry it. Now, you got some people up and down streets, they'll do this all across the country. I'm not saying you go out there and get a little cross with wheels attached to the bottom of it, drag it up and down here. I'm not saying, we're not going to go there. But Jesus saying, you're going to pick up your cross and follow me. And if you do that, you're going to get noticed. I think it's interesting how people just think that they can follow Jesus and nobody else will notice. Like, seriously, some of y'all got your church life, and then you got your work life, and then you got your social life. And they're all separate. Like, you don't bring your Jesus life into your work life. Or you definitely don't bring Jesus into your social life. Because maybe he'll cramp your style or something. And so you kind of keep it under. Listen, if you're following Jesus and you should say, Jesus, I want to follow you. He's saying, you got to pick up a cross. And you do that, people are going to notice, hey, that's like carrying a cross. You're just going to get noticed. Listen, dads, your kids are going to notice. I've spoke with couples. I've done a lot of counseling. I'm the guy you turn to if you have nowhere else to go. Why? You're in trouble if you're coming to see me. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you need help. Well, I've had people come to me, separately as couples, and they'll, like I've heard the wife say before, said, I don't, my husband, he gave his life to Christ, and she'll kind of give me some rough time reference and say, but honestly, we just leave this place, and it's just not any different. I said, you don't notice any change in him? No. I said, well, sweetie, that's because he doesn't know Jesus. He's not following Jesus. I mean, listen, if you follow Jesus, it's noticeable. Your friends will notice. Your coworkers will notice. You know what? Your bank account will look different. That'll preach. It's noticeable. It's a big change. So carrying a cross is noticeable. Whenever you pick up your cross, people are going to notice. Number 2, carrying a cross is uncomfortable. Carrying a cross is uncomfortable. To follow Jesus, it means that you're going to have to give up some things in this life that the world's going to consider normal. It means you're going to have to change some things. Carrying a cross is heavy. It's going to put you in a place of discomfort. You say, well, I thought following Jesus was all like roses and cherries. No, not the Jesus I know of. You're often going to find yourself in a place of discomfort. It's just, look, it's hard to go. You're going to have to make some changes in your life because of the discomfort of carrying a cross. You're going to have to adjust the way that you live. And is it going to be easy? No, I got people coming in all the time. You know what the number one reason, and I don't mean to pick on this, but it just is. It's like people say, I would tithe. I would tithe, but I just can't afford to tithe. I say, well, hold on. You mean in order for you to tithe, you would have to make some drastic changes in your life. And you would have to go without some of the comforts that you have now. Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah, we'd have to make massive changes. I'm like, high five. That's the point. That's the point. If you're going to follow Jesus, you're going to have to get a little bit uncomfortable. Men, again, not to pick on you, but it's so easy. Listen, I'm just telling you, come back in 2 weeks, Easter's going to be awesome. It's going to be a message where people are going to get saved left and right. I mean, 5 people got saved in the seats you're sitting in a while ago, and that's incredible. But Easter's going to be off the hook. Y'all are going to be walking out here feeling great. We're going to baptize people. Who knows? We might even have an ice cream truck or something show up. It's going to be a great day. But today you're like, oh my gosh, I come back into church, and this sucker just keeps kicking me in the teeth every time I come in. And I just want to say, it's a gift. I'm sorry. But listen, man, you got to get uncomfortable. Sometimes, I'm just being real. Guys say to me all the time, it's like, man, it's just uncomfortable praying with my wife. It's just uncomfortable praying with my kids. I was like, yep, And there's no easy way around that. It is. It's awkward. It's uncomfortable when you first start. When you start making these changes. But I always tell them, yeah, it's uncomfortable. But I'll tell you what would even be more uncomfortable. Your kids are growing up way too fast. And they're going to be gone. How uncomfortable would it be knowing that you, in your heart, you said you love Jesus, but you wouldn't even pray with your own kids. And they just run off and they start going crazy. I mean, Dad never guided them. I'd say carrying a cross, it's uncomfortable. You're going to have to get used to some discomfort. It's not going to be easy anywhere. Let me tell you something. The longer I follow Jesus, it's still hard. It's still hard. He's always raising the standard in our lives. You have not arrived because you're still breathing. You'll arrive when you're dead. That's it. Say, well, that don't sound fun. Welcome to Christianity. There's other people that'll fluff your feathers and just tell you, man, it's going to be awesome. And it is awesome. It is, because we're working towards the resurrection. But in order to get it, you can't have a resurrection without a cross. So it's going to be uncomfortable. Single people say, well, what does that mean? I've got a girlfriend. That means you're single. All right? The way you date will be different. It just means the way that you date will be different. If you're picking up your cross and you're a follower of Jesus, the way you date will be different. It'll be uncomfortable. I got people pushing back all the time saying, look, man, I can't have sex with my girl. Yep, that's what that means. I don't like that. Me neither, bro. I didn't make the rules. Jesus has a plan for your life. And it's way better than the plan that you're currently living. And in order to get to the promise, you got to go through some pain. And see, listen, it breaks my heart because everybody wants the promise, but nobody likes the pain. And Jesus says, man, if you're going to follow, he's telling his disciples, he's trying to prepare them for Easter. He's trying to prepare them for the resurrection. He says, there's a good day coming, but you got to pick up your cross and follow me, and it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to have to make some adjustments. Number 3, carrying a cross is personal. Carrying a cross is personal. Listen, one cross, one person. You've watched movies about Jesus and all this kind of stuff. You never see 3 or 4 people hung to one cross. I've never seen it. It doesn't happen that way. One cross, one person. You've got to make this personal with you. Let me tell you how this means in our life. You cannot live off of your pastor's faith. You cannot live off of your wife's faith. You cannot live off of your parents' faith or your kids' faith or the group that you run with faith. So a lot of people say, well, I belong to a church. Congratulations. Where's your cross? You can't hang on to the church's cross. You can't hang on to your small group leader's cross. You've got to decide at some point to make this personal between you and Jesus and saying, God, whatever you call me to do, I'm picking up my cross and I'm following you. Carrying a cross is personal. Number 4, carrying a cross is permanent. Carrying a cross is permanent. Once you start carrying your cross, there's no way of getting out of it. See, the disciples that Jesus was talking to, they understood that all too well. They've never seen one single person ever get down off of a cross. You know that once you start carrying your cross, it's for life. Your life will end on that cross. It's permanent. It's not this cookie cutter buffet style Christianity where you can take things or you can leave things. It's for life. I think that's what bothers me sometimes. A lot of people just kind of like, oh, I can take it or leave it. No, it's on. Game on. It is a permanent thing in your life. You just realize that one of these days it's all for the resurrection. It's all, because one of these days, man, we want that. I want that. I live for heaven. Whew, I live for it. I don't dream about it like Pentecostals do all the time, But listen, I live for heaven. I can't wait to sing Jesus' praises in his presence forever and ever and ever and ever. And there's no pain, and there's no shame, and there's no tears, and there's no hurts, and there's no condemnation. There's none of that. Everything's perfect, and I can't wait for that, but I can't get there without a cross. It's permanent. Finally, number 5, carrying a cross is public. Carrying a cross is public. People were never crucified in the dark. They would always wait till daybreak. A lot of times they'd do it in the middle of the day. They'd always do it. They'd never do it behind closed doors. Be like, I'm just going to nail you to a cross in your living room. No, we're dragging you out here. It's going to be public. It's going to be on display. Everybody's going to know. And not only are we going to nail you to the cross, we're going to make you drag that sucker to get there. And so I get amazed at the amount of people sometimes you run into, and it's like, see, because part of my job is like I do funerals. I don't have to. I can say no, that'd be me kind of being a jerk. You got to do funerals sometimes. A lot of times, you don't know the people. And so you always try to investigate, like, hey, tell me about, Billy Bob. Oh, what kind of guy was it? Tell me about his relationship with Jesus. Tell me about what that looks like. And the people around him go, well, Billy Bob, he's a good man. Did he love Jesus? Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure he did, quite honestly, he kind of kept that stuff private. Kind of kept that. And I don't know where this creeped in American Christianity, that our faith is something that's private. Following Jesus is a private thing. I don't know where this crept in, but it's dead wrong. Whenever you follow Jesus, it's on display for the world. Everybody's going to know. He says, I'm not going to hide you. You're going to be a city on a hill. People are going to notice. You are going to be on public display for the world. This is how I choose to reach the world, is through you. It fascinates me, the people that are just like, oh, I'm just kind of quiet and shy about my faith. Try that with your wife. Are you married? Kind of. Where's she at? I don't know. I don't like to be seen in public with her. See how long that lasts. Oh, it's all that, but we won't do that for Jesus. It's public. You got to go public with this thing. In 2 weeks, we're going to be baptized. We always baptize people with crowds around. Because listen, let me tell you something about going public. I don't know about other environments, but this environment is a place that celebrates life change. Jesus says that all of heaven breaks out in a party every time one lost person comes home. And listen, whenever you're here, there's nobody here that's going, I can't believe he raised his hand. I see in a little bit, I'm going to give an opportunity for people to get right with Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Get right. Not like, get right. There's nobody here who's going to be like, oh my gosh, man, he's been coming here 5 years. I can't believe that. Nobody's going to be condemning you. Everybody's going to be like, heck yeah, high five, because we want to see you at the after party. We want to see you whenever all of eternity is erupting with celebration. Just go public. You can't not be noticed. That's this Christianity thing is not for you if you think you can. So maybe I'm just a quiet person. No, you ain't. Somebody make you mad. You're not quiet. You gotta go public, man. You gotta tell the world, look, I belong to Jesus, and I don't care. I don't care how comfortable it is. I don't care the way I look, the way I feel, whatever. I'm going public. And listen, y'all do better yourself if you just follow my example. That's what you need to be telling to the world. Not this, oh, it's kind of private, keeping it between me and Jesus. Hebrews 12:2. I love this passage of Scripture right here. It says, we do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. Check this out. Because of the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross, disregarding its shame. Because of the joy awaiting him, he picked up that cross. Endured it. He says, don't let me fool you. This cross represents pain. This cross represents discomfort. For a lot of people, this cross represents agony. It represents a lot of change that needs to take place. He says, but it was because of the joy that was awaiting him. He endured the cross, disregarding its shame. So I don't care what it takes. I don't care how long it takes to get there. I'm going to embrace this cross. I want to carry it because I know without this cross, there is no resurrection. And I just say, how are you preparing for Easter? I would encourage you to pick up your cross and follow Jesus because there's no other way. Jesus says, you need to count the cost. And I just wanted to help translate the cost for you this morning. This is going to be painful. This is going to be uncomfortable. This is going to mean a ton of change in your life. And this is going to be so worth it. Let me pray for you.